You ever have one of those moments where someone pushes you so far, you snap, but not in the way they expect? Not yelling, not throwing punches, but snapping into something deeper. A sense of justice, a commitment to stand your ground. That's exactly what happened when my neighborhood's HOA told me to move my boat. Now, the entire HOA board paddles to work. Every single day. This isn't a story about a boat. It's a story about power, pride, and the lengths some people will go to control what they don't even own. And how sometimes the only way to win is to outlast. Let's rewind. My name's Tom Chandler. I'm a 42-year-old mechanical engineer who's been obsessed with boats since I was 11. When my wife and I finally found a lakefront home in a quiet, tree-lined community called Silver Pines Cove, I thought it was the start of the peaceful waterfront life we'd been working toward for years. And for the first few weeks, it was. Every morning, I'd wake up to birdsong and sunlight dancing on the water. I'd sip my coffee from the back porch with a clear view of my pride and joy, a perfectly maintained 26-foot Catalina sailboat I'd restored myself, docked right on our little slice of lakefront heaven. That boat wasn't just fiberglass and sails, it was a symbol of freedom, of hard work, of every weekend I'd spent grinding and sanding and painting and wiring. It wasn't going anywhere, until one morning it almost did. It was a Tuesday, 6:47 a.m. I was still in sweats, coffee in hand, when the doorbell rang like an alarm. Standing there was a man I'd never met. Tall, smug, silver hair combed back like he hadn't changed it since 1993. He didn't say good morning, didn't even introduce himself. "I'm Franklin Moore, president of the Silver Pines Homeowners Association." He pointed over my shoulder to the dock. "That boat violates community guidelines. It needs to be removed within 48 hours. I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" Franklin didn't flinch. "There's an aesthetic clause in the bylaws. Large watercraft not allowed unless explicitly approved by the board. You'll find a fine schedule in your mailbox." I knew better. I'd read the HOA documents front to back before we bought. Nothing prohibited boats on private docks. I said so. He smiled, not kindly. "The board voted last month to update the guidelines. You'll be receiving the revised version shortly. I suggest you comply." And just like that, he turned and walked off. No debate, no discussion. That moment lit a fire under me I didn't even know I had. For the next week, I did my research. The updated guidelines? Not valid. They hadn't followed the HOA's own procedure for ratification. No 30-day notice, no quorum, no homeowner vote. Just a closed-door meeting with Franklin and his buddies, rubber stamping whatever they felt like. I wasn't the only one in their crosshairs. My next-door neighbor, Paula, got fined for her non-regulation flower pots. The Johnsons across the street got a warning for their teen's basketball hoop. Funny how the rules only applied to people not in Franklin's little social circle. But here's where things got interesting. The lake? It wasn't HOA property, it was municipal, public, maintained by the city for over 40 years. And I had a permit. A valid, up-to-date, city-issued permit to dock my boat. I'd done it by the book. I had them. But I wasn't just going to prove a point. I was going to teach a lesson. First, I met with a city official, Megan Chu, from Public Recreation and Access. She confirmed the lake's public status and even emailed me historic maps and maintenance records. Franklin had no legal control over the water or any docks extending into it. Then I sent a letter to the HOA. Formal, factual, and firm. I outlined the improper vote procedures, the city's ownership of the lake, and included a friendly but clear warning. Any attempt to tow or damage my boat would result in legal action. I never got a reply. Instead, the fines doubled. 2 weeks later, the bridge that connected the east side of our neighborhood to the main road, The only direct route was shut down. Structural issues. 3-month repair minimum. Suddenly, the HOA board members who lived across the lake, Franklin included, had a problem. Their commutes just went from 10 minutes to 50, unless they had a boat. See where this is going? At first they ignored it, then tried to hire a private ferry. That plan collapsed when the city denied docking privileges to any commercial vessels. The only people who could legally launch from the eastern shore were residents, like me. So I did what any reasonable man would do. I offered help. Free morning shuttle service to the West Dock. All are welcome. A few residents took me up on it immediately. Others trickled in. And then came the day Franklin showed up. Winded, annoyed, sweating in a suit, paddle in hand. He didn't say a word, just stared at me and my boat, and climbed aboard. That was the beginning of the shift. Each morning I welcomed HOA board members onto the boat they once tried to evict. I didn't gloat, I didn't mock, but I did have a small sign over the wheel. Franklin hated it, but every day there he was. No bridge, no choice. What started as a necessity turned into something more. People talked, shared stories, laughed. Kids helped tie knots. The community began to reconnect. On the very lake the HOA wanted to control. Behind the scenes I kept digging. Financial reports, maintenance budgets, HOA allocations. Turns out Franklin had been quietly using HOA funds to renovate his dock, a dock on public property. He also approved $18,000 worth of shoreline beautification, all along the backyards of his board member buddies. It didn't take long for the city to open a formal investigation, nor for 3 board members to resign once residents got wind of the misappropriation. At the next HOA election, I didn't run, but Paula did. So did 2 others I'd helped shuttle every morning for months. They won in a landslide. With Franklin out and a new board in place, things changed fast. HOA rules were rewritten. Democratically, lake access was expanded, and community kayak racks were installed. We started an annual float and feast, a lake picnic where people shared food between boats. The first one had 60 boats and made the local news. The best part? My boat, the one they tried to ban, became the community ferry. Kids named it the Liberty. Every time I pull into the dock and help someone off, I think about that morning Franklin rang my doorbell. And I smile, because I didn't just keep my boat. I helped steer this neighborhood back toward what it was always meant to be, a place where people look out for one another, not control one another. Sometimes the best way to fight back isn't to shout, it's to stand your ground and offer a paddle. Tom Chandler.